back to Discourse Club, the podcast where we uncover the layers of language and meaning in film related texts. Here we break down what you read and we also help you see it in a whole new way. I'm Julieta, and today we got a special guest, Ornella, who's here to analyze The Guardian's latest review of Longlegs, written by Wendy Allen. This review is a great example of how genre, social purpose, and context work all together to shape how we understand a text. Ornella, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Julieta. I'm really excited to be here. This article gives us a lot to work with. It's a fascinating blend of horror and language analysis. Also, a great movie to watch on a Friday night. I had to lock my doors, really. I thought Longlegs was going to break in.
I can imagine. A lady screamed at my screening when Longlegs gave that monologue. It was a really chilly scene. So let's jump right in. We will start with the concept of register, breaking down the three main elements present in an article according to the linguist Susan Higgins, field, tenor, and mode. Ornella, do you mind starting with field?
Absolutely. So, field basically refers to what the text is about. Here, we deal with a review centered on the recent film Longlegs, which stars Micah Monroe as an antisocial FBI
Mhm.
agent tracking a creepy serial killer played by Nicolas Cage. Remember him from Ghost Rider? He looks way different now. This review is both a plot summary and a critique, since the author is a chief film critic, and it focuses on aspects like Monroe's performance, Cage's portrayal of the killer, and also the adjectives that are used to describe the performances are, for example, creep, brooding, etc. She also says one time that Monroe is in the ranks of this generation's finest genre performance.
She also focuses on the film atmosphere overall, I think. As you mentioned, by describing it as brooding, the reviewer is implicitly referring to the use of lighting, cinematography, and sound, all the important aspects of horror thriller films. So Wendy here aims to inform the readers about the film's strengths, weaknesses, themes, while also providing a subjective evaluation, I would say.
Yeah, and also for the ones who haven't seen it yet, and I personally recommend it because it's great movie. The article informs us about the film's genre, tone, and some of its horror-driven themes without diving too deeply into spoilers, so you can read it at ease.
Right. So the field essentially is your commentary on a horror thriller, but it goes beyond just reporting. You're also offering an evaluation on the film style, its atmosphere, and its impact. It is what's happening in the world and what the language is being used to talk about. It's quite interesting. Now let's look at tenor. How would you describe the interpersonal relationship between Wendy and the readers?
Yeah, great question. So tenor concerns the role and power dynamics between the writer, and the audience. So in this case, we have a somewhat informal yet professional tone that creates a sense of shared knowledge with the readers.
I get it. So in Egan's words, the social role relationships made by the interactions.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a blend of authority and approachability here. She assumes that the audience is familiar with film culture and references actors in other films, like, for example, The Silence of the Lambs and Seven, without needing to over explain. Great movie, by the way. This balance of critique and commentary shows she's engaging with an audience of film enthusiasts who understand both the genre and some technical film lingo as well.
So it's accessible, but with a layer of expertise that suggests that she's speaking to cinephiles like us. That really
Yeah.
shapes how she shares her insights. Imagine talking about long legs with my grandma. So to close up and register, let's touch on mode. So the mode pretty much concerns the medium and structure of the text, especially since this review appears in The Guardian. Such a serious British newspaper. What are your thoughts on mode?
Yeah. So here the mode is written and largely monologic. So it's designed to be read rather than spoken. So without the need for direct interaction with the writer. This genre of a written review in a formal publication like The Guardian, as you said, influences the structure, especially since it's meant to be consumed digitally in The Guardian's website or app. It's also concise, virtually organized with headings, subheadings, thematic paragraphs, guiding the reader through a clear path. We have the introduction, the critique, and the summary. The language balances formality, engagement, and aims also to both inform and persuade.
I get it. Why don't we move to clauses in combination now, which is where it gets a little technical but also fun. We will break down some of the clauses that Wendy Art uses on her review. How do you think, Ornella, that this contribute to the depth of her analysis?
Yeah, so one of my favorite clauses to analyze is her FBI colleagues describe Agent Lee Harker as highly intuitive. So, in this quote, this single main clause conveys a projection. It's the author quoting the FBI's view of Harker, which adds also a layer of perspective. It's simple, yet it gives us insight on how Harker is perceived by others in her field. And also, an important thing to take into account, and something that you grammar geeks are probably wondering about, is the tactic relation. We don't have a tactic relation here because we only have one clause.
And for those who are also new, a tactic relationship is simply how the sentences link ideas together. Parataxis on one side puts ideas next to each other as equals, while the hypotaxis layers them with one idea depending on the other one.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. And we also can see here a more complex example, and I quote, and if the term sounds like federal agency code for something ominous and slightly sinister, that's because it is. In this case, we have a complex clause sentence with an if then relation that enhances the sense of mystery around Harker's character.
That is to say, a hypotaxis tactic relation, right?
Exactly, yeah. So if we were to divide the structure, it would be beta for the first clause, the one that starts with if,
Mm-hmm.
and alpha for the second one. That's
That's
because
because
it is, right?
I get it.
Uh-huh.
I love how that clause it subtly highlights Harker's character without explicitly describing her. That's some genius writing there. The language allows the reader to pick up on her traits very unconsciously. I think that this is a great sentence that works as an example as well, and I'm gonna read a little bit. Carter is clearly the glass half full type, particularly if the glass is half full of whiskey. It's a main clause with a dependent conditional clause or a complex clause. The condition comments with humor pretty much on Carter's personality, so we have a hypotaxis relation. And
Yeah.
the conditional clause enhances the main clause by offering a hypothetical situation. So he likes to drink, particularly if they have is full of whiskey.
Yeah, exactly. So the humor in that class complex keeps the review from feeling too heavy. Otherwise, I think it would be maybe a somber analysis.
Yeah.
Now, continuing with the analysis, we have this other clause that I would like to read, and it says Longlegs may not live up to the Silence of the Lambs, but it still delivers a chilling experience for horror fans. Here, particularly, we have two coordinated main clauses. Let's say class complex in SFL words. And here, the tactic relationship is paratactic, meaning that the clauses are joined as equals with the conjunction but. And in this case, the logical semantic relationship would be extension by contrast.
Right. So that contrast that you're referring to, it really does soften the critique. Moving to another example, we see a slightly different relationship. As Harker studies the crime scene, her instincts guide her, yet her conclusions are often clouded by doubt.
Yeah, so that's a sentence that combines three clauses in this case. So the structure creates both a cause and a contrast. The first clause, that is a dependent circumstantial clause, shows us the setting, while the other two main clauses show a contrast between her instincts and her self doubt. It adds a sense of complexity to her character. But I think that's enough grammar for today. What do you think? Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think that the language in this text really balances critique and commentary. I didn't think that that was clear. It's a great example of work, discourse at work in journalism, right? The structure, the tone, the clever use of the clause combination really help her convey the atmosphere of Long Legs, while also drawing people into her perspective, right? You have the stars, you know what her view, what her opinion was. So yeah, I think this is a great example.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
In commentary. Well, thank you, Amelia, so much for walking us through the transitivity in clauses for this particular topic. We hope our listeners got a good feel of how these elements shape our understanding of film reviews. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Discourse Club.